All right, welcome back, Focus Learners. Let's just jump right in today because we're going on another deep dive. Today's explainer is going to completely flip the script on how you care for your yard. I mean, we're talking about a real paradigm shift in gardening here. It's an unexpected revolution that's going to take us away from those shelves full of expensive bottles and bring us right back to basic biology. So get ready, because the way you look at a very common, everyday houseplant is literally about to change forever.
Let me ask you a quick question. Why do you grow aloe vera? If you're like most people, you probably have a pot of it sitting in a corner right now. Maybe you snip a piece off to soothe a bad summer sunburn, or, let's be honest, maybe you just keep it around because it's practically indestructible and survives our absolute worst gardening mistakes. But what most of us entirely miss is this plant's hidden, incredibly powerful potential out in the actual garden. Okay, let's dive into this. Let's put a real price tag on our current habits. 30 to 50 bucks. That's what we easily and kind of unthinkingly drop every single season on reactive garden fixes. You know the drill, right? A plant looks a little weak, boom, we buy a fertilizer. Leaves have spots, we go buy a fungicide. Pests show up, we buy a chemical spray. Sure, each product seems cheap on its own, but they add up incredibly fast when our yard has multiple, separate issues. We're just stuck in this endless cycle of paying for external inputs.
Now, what if one houseplant could replace half the bottles in your garden shed? Seriously, what if that simple, cheap, super easy to grow aloe vera sitting on your windowsill right now is actually the key to reducing your dependence on all those expensive, reactive treatments? And hey, we aren't talking about magic here. We are talking about pure, powerful biology.
Section 1. The Garden Product Trap.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole problem. Modern gardening has totally trained us to treat symptoms instead of nurturing the underlying system. Think about the old way, treating the symptom. A plant droops, and we just force-feed it fertilizer. Bugs arrive, we coat the leaves in pesticides. It's totally reactive. But the new way? That's the aloe vera mindset. This approach isn't about throwing out every product overnight. It's about using aloe to actively support your garden's natural biological systems. Because when the system itself is strong, your reliance on all those store-bought inputs drops dramatically.
Section 2. Rethinking soil and roots.
To actually make this shift, we have to rethink what's happening right beneath our feet. We tend to think plants are healthy just because the dirt happens to contain nutrients, but the reality, it's so much more dynamic than that. The soil isn't just some structural anchor to hold your plant upright. It is a highly active, living environment. Microorganisms and enzymes are constantly at work down there, breaking down organic matter and transforming it into a form the roots can actually absorb. When this living soil system gets weak, your plants decline rapidly. And that, right at that intersection of roots and soil biology, is exactly where aloe vera steps in.
There's this brilliant quote from our source material that clears up the biggest misconception right away. Aloe vera is not food for the plant. It works more like a biological signal. Think about that. Aloe isn't some magical fertilizer packed with nitrogen or phosphorus. Instead, the gel inside the leaf is absolutely loaded with natural enzymes, amino acids, and bioactive compounds. It doesn't feed the plant. It stimulates cell recovery and division right in the root zone. Basically, it acts like a giant wake-up call, telling the roots to get back to work.
Section 3. Activating your root system.
So how do we actually use this biological signal? Well, it all starts with activating the root system, especially when a plant is super stressed and starting to shut down. There are three main scenarios where your roots are practically crying out for this signal. First, right after transplanting, when roots are totally shocked and broken. Second, after intense heat stress. Usually when temperatures spike between 32 and 35 degrees Celsius, the root system just panics and slows its water uptake. And third, during propagation, when a cutting needs to rapidly develop a brand new root system. In all of these environmental stress events, aloe helps those roots recover their stable functioning rhythm.
And the process? It's incredibly simple. You just extract and blend or crush the clear gel from the inside of the leaf. Then you dilute it with water. And then, actually, stop, this is an absolutely crucial detail, you have to apply it directly to a slightly damp root zone. Do not pour this onto dry, rock-hard soil. If the roots are under severe water stress in bone-dry dirt, no solution is going to help. The soil must already have some gentle moisture for the aloe to properly penetrate and do its job.
So, the crucial point is getting the dilution right. You're definitely going to want to treat this as your new garden cheat sheet. For weak or newly transplanted plants, you want a stronger mix. That's 1 part aloe gel to 10 parts water, pouring anywhere from 100 to 500 milliliters directly around the base, depending on plant size. For just general maintenance and feeding those soil microbes, you can back it off to a 1:15 or 1:20 ratio every 5 to 7 days. And if you're using it as a foliar spray to deter pests, go even lighter, like 1:20 to 1:30.
Section 4. Supporting the silent workforce.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it highlights the silent workforce of your garden. We're talking about the billions of microorganisms living in your soil. To process organic matter, including that water-rich aloe gel you just poured in, they desperately need stable moisture. Specifically, this 50% to 70% sweet spot you see right here. So how do you test this without fancy equipment? Just dig down about 5 to 10 centimeters and squeeze a handful of soil. If it holds together lightly in your hand without dripping water, boom, you have hit the exact moisture sweet spot for those microbes to thrive.
Section 5. Reducing stress and pests. Now, aside from supercharging the soil underneath, aloe vera also acts as an absolutely incredible above-ground defense system, mitigating stress and insect pressure. Imagine you've just moved a prized plant into the ground. The sun is beating down, the roots are in total shock, and the leaves are completely wilted, just sad and drooping. Instead of watching it suffer for weeks, applying a 1 to 15 dilution of aloe gel immediately soothes that root zone. Because it helps the roots resume taking up water normally, those drooping leaves can visibly regain their firmness in just 3 to 5 days. You are essentially cutting the shock period in half. That's a real game changer.
And what about pests, right? Well, aloe isn't a toxic pesticide. Instead, when you spray a 1 to 20 or 130 dilution on the leaves, preferably early morning or late afternoon, it creates this very light moisture layer that slightly alters the leaf surface. It literally just makes it less attractive to aphids and those annoying sap-sucking insects. Even better, it acts as the perfect, slightly sticky carrier. If you mix in a little garlic water or mild chili extract, the aloe helps those natural deterrents adhere perfectly to the leaf instead of just running off into the soil.
Section 6. Rules for aloe success.
Let's move to and see how this builds a solid foundation. Because before you run out and harvest your entire houseplant, we need a quick reality check. Aloe is a powerful supporting input, but it's not some magic cure-all. It simply will not work if you don't follow 4 mandatory rules. First, as we discussed, stable soil moisture right at 50 to 70%. Second, the soil must be aerated and uncompacted. Roots and microbes need oxygen, and pouring aloe into dense, hard clay won't do a single thing. Third, you absolutely need a surface mulch layer to protect the temperature of that root zone. And fourth, avoid excessive tilling. Tilling destroys the very soil structure and microbial networks the aloe is trying to support in the first place.
So, what does this all mean? We come back to the ultimate question. Are you ready to stop treating symptoms and start actually supporting the system? By understanding the biological signals hidden inside a simple aloe leaf, you can drastically reduce your reliance on all those expensive chemical sprays and fertilizers. It's time to work with your garden's natural workforce, not against it. Go blend that first leaf, try it on your most stressed plant, and watch the biology go to work. Thanks so much for learning with us today, and we'll see you next time.